Hi, I'm Joni Patry and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'd like to talk about the houses in Vedic astrology. I went over a synopsis of what all the houses mean, but now I want to deliver exactly what each house means in a series of 12 of these classes. Today I want to really dip in to the first house, which is Dhanu Bhava. Bhava means house. It means field of action. This is where all the planets create their story, their life. It's the stage. The 12 houses in astrology are all the different areas of our life. And every house is reflected of some area of our life, whether it's marriage, our home, our family. All of these things are in segments of the 12 houses. So the first house is probably the most important house because it is our entrance into the world. And if you think about it, we are born, supposedly, if we're born properly, head first, not breech, but the head comes out first. So the first house deals with the head, the crown, and it is relative to the sign Aries, the first sign. What you're going to find in astrology is that the natural zodiac of the signs is relative to the 12 houses as well. So when we look at the first sign, which is in the natural zodiac, Aries, it is ruled by Mars. So Mars is the energy of life, being born, and this is the energy of what the first house is. It is our entrance into the world. And people that have planets in their first house will be reflective of around their entrance, what their birth was exactly like. If they had an easy birth, a quick birth, if they were born through C-section, Mars can be in the first house because Mars represents knives and cutting. So the first house is primarily you. So it is so important. It can be reflective of your health, of your physical constitution, your stamina in life. So planets here in the first house can represent your stature, how tall or short you are. It can represent your look, your body disposition, if you're heavy, you're thin. And certain planets here will reflect this. The sign, the quality of the sign that's on your first house is relative to the sense of your physical constitution and also your personality, how you express yourself, who you are. This is all the first house. It is the ego of how we see ourselves, our connection to the world. And it deals particularly with the personality, but always remember the first house can deal with your health and it can deal with the head. I find that people that have Mars or even Mars Rahu in the first house are prone to head injuries and accidents. Mars is very abrupt. Mars can go fast and furious. It's impulsive. It's impatient. So when you have it in the first house, this is someone that's accident prone. So if you were to have the sun in the first house, the sun is the ego. This is a person that's going to really want to be the center of attention most of the time. And consequently, they probably are because they have this need to be recognized and noticed with the sun in the first house. Now, of course, the signs are going to flavor it. Whatever signs these planets are in the first house, give the flavor. A sun in Leo in the first house will be someone that has to be the leader, has to be in charge of things, and the center of attention. If you have the moon in the first house, this means you're ultra sensitive because the moon is sensitivity, it's emotions, it's feelings, it's the mind. And put in the first house, everything in the environment affects you. Everything, sounds, color, people, how people make you feel. You absorb all the the feelings from other people. So you can go out in a big crowded place and you come home feeling drained and you go, I didn't do anything. Why am I so tired? It's because you collected and absorbed all of the emotions and feelings from other people in the environment. This is how this works. And I find that people that have the moon in the first house can be so sensitive that even things in the environment such as pollutants, allergies, things of this nature affect them. They are affected and sensitive to everything in the environment when the moon is in the first house. They're very feeling people, but they won't let people know how sensitive and how feeling they are. If you have Mercury in the first house, you're the thinker. You're constantly thinking, processing information, the mind. That's what Mercury's all about, the communicator. So you are someone who wants to communicate to everyone all around you. And Mercury's about understanding things, about learning, education, gathering information, constantly curious about the world. Another thing is Mercury in the first house can denote someone that has a great sense of humor. Mercury is really quick-minded in the first house. Remember, planets in the first house are magnetized to who you are, your personality and your physical vitality and stature. So these planets in the first house have a major effect on the physical being. So Mercury can make someone kind of wiry and thin and nervous, but funny because they're always thinking ahead, quick-witted. So Mercury in the first house is someone who's sharp, smart, quick-witted, and has a great sense of humor, a comedian. If you have Venus in the first house, Venus is beauty, it's charm, it's grace. People that have Venus in the first house know how to say the right thing at the right time. They're charming and graceful. Everything to do that's Venusian, artistic, creative, expressive. This is all the qualities of what Venus can be like in the first house. And it's also someone who is into making things right with everyone. It's like the sign Libra. Libra wants balance. Libra wants to make peace. So they're constantly making sure everyone's okay. And it's important to them that they're in a relationship. Venus likes to be with other people in the area of forming relationships. So if you have Jupiter in the first house, and of course, depending on the sign can vary, that Jupiter can make someone big. I mean, overweight, because it's excessiveness, it's big. Not always, depending on the sign. Sometimes when it's in a water sign, it can be someone that retains water. So they can have weight problems. Not always, depending on all the other aspects. Also, Jupiter in the first house makes someone very generous, optimistic, futuristic, philosophical. They love spirituality and philosophy and are constantly wanting adventure, travel, to see the world, to learn, to be the teacher. That's what Jupiter in the first house can bring. If you have Saturn in the first house, this can mean possibly there was some type of difficulty around your birth, difficult experience for possibly the mother, or something like maybe the parents are struggling, but something in the environment's going on. And people that have Saturn in the first house usually never get to be children because they come into this world so mature. Saturn's maturity, Saturn's wise, Saturn is old. I always say they're like little old people that are born into this life. And they always feel responsible for everyone and everything in their home, in their family when they come into this world. And consequently, end up taking care of other people, family members, their parents, their siblings. They have a sense of responsibility the minute that they are born. So that's Saturn in the first house. If you have Neptune in the first house, this means you're a mystic. You believe in miracles, spiritual, and many times very creative in terms of possibly music, depending on the sign. When I see Neptune in air signs, I see musicians. When I see Neptune in Venus's like Taurus, I could see very creative people. Of course, this would be people of generations way before. But I just want you to know that Neptune in the first house can be a spiritualist, a mystic, and sometimes have their head in the clouds and be confused. Watch the eyes. The eyes are usually very doe-like, watery and large when Neptune's in the first house. So what about Rahu and Ketu? When we look at Rahu and Ketu, Rahu in the first house can make someone large. Rahu's expansive. And sometimes they say when Rahu's in the first house, it can make the skin darker. Likewise, Saturn makes for darker skin. But Rahu in the first house can make it so that your life has a certain quality of destiny attached to it. And the closer Rahu is to the ascendant degree, the more destiny that is really a part of your life. You can make plans to go a certain direction in your life, but chances are there is a certain destiny that will pick you up and put you elsewhere, a place you didn't intend or plan on, because your life is fated with a certain destiny. One person that comes to mind that has Rahu on the ascendant is John Kennedy Jr. For so many years, he tried to pass the bar exam. I think it took him 3 different tries. Everyone wanted him to go into politics like his father, but guess what? He was destined to be a writer. And around the time that he passed away, he had a magazine called George, and that was his destiny. No matter how he tried to push one thing, his destiny brought him to the reality of what he was here to do. Now, Ketu on the ascendant. This is a whole different scenario. People with Ketu in the ascendant feel like they never fit into this world. They feel like they have 1 foot in and 1 foot out of this reality, because essentially they do. Ketu is otherworldly. And Ketu in the first house many times makes people very thin, whereas Rahu can make people large. But Ketu on the ascendant, they always feel like they're an alien in this world, never really fitting in. And that sometimes goes to where someone lives in a foreign country and they never really feel like they fit in. That's Ketu on the ascendant. And circumstances when they came into this world might have been difficult, because remember, the first house is our entrance into the world. So the first house, I just went through an array of different planets. Uranus in the first house can make someone move about a lot. They're unusual, they're different, they are rebellious, they're revolutionary in their life. They are unconventional. They want to do different things with their lives than maybe their family or parents want them to do. They are going to be revolutionary and definitely rebellious, but very unique and different. And Pluto on the ascendant. Pluto deals with manipulation and control many times, and people with Pluto on the ascendant feel like their whole life has been controlled by others. But essentially what becomes of them is they become very controlling, because they don't want to feel a sense of control. They begin to control other people. They have the need to feel like they're in control. And they are extraordinarily powerful with Pluto on the ascendant or in the first house. So going through different scenarios of what the first house can mean, your presence, how you look to the world, your personality, your physical constitution is by what signs on the ascendant in the first house and what planets are there. If there are no planets, then it's just what sign. And also what you're going to find out is when different planets aspect the first house. But remember, the first house is all about you. So it is one of the most important houses of our chart. With that information, if you would like to learn more about Vedic astrology, and if you're serious, I have a university and you can get further in depth and even get certified in Vedic astrology. You can go to my website, which is universityofvedicastrology.com. Thank you.